everybody, to Boats, Beers, and Backroads, where we celebrate everything kind of cottage country from crack of a cold beer to the cast of a perfect line. And today's guest is, his name is synonymous with fishing, someone who's inspired generations to pick up a rod and hit the lake and that whole love of the outdoors generally. Bob Izumi is more than just a pro angler. He's a media trailblazer for those people who've known him for a long time, fishing community advocate, which I know we've been talking about a little bit today too, and a family man. So he has lots of new appreciation, I guess, different ways of appreciating that kind of simple fishing life. And Bob, I know even super busy now, so I appreciate you taking the time to join the show. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jamie, good to see you this morning. It's funny because this is, I don't know, 45, 46, 47. I'm not even sure how many years I've been doing it for a living, but it doesn't get old. I mean, come on, fishing for a living. I mean, it's been pretty amazing, but a lot of folks don't realize that when you do or choose something that I chose many years ago, how busy you are. And I'm not saying that from a negative way because it's been an incredible roller coaster ride, but I still go hard, even though I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I fish tournaments still all over the place. I was in Oklahoma a few weeks ago fishing a big bass tournament
Yeah.
on Grand Lake. And the week prior to that, I took a quick road trip with my buddies and jumped in my truck. We went down to Ranger Boats and did a plant tour and tested some boats. And so I think I did 72 hours of driving in a 2 week period back and forth
Wow.
from Oklahoma and Arkansas, two separate trips back to back. And that's kind of my life. It's been like that for over 4 decades. Go, go, go. And when we were doing the TV show for 38 years, it was like
Yeah.
300 days pretty much on the road every year.
Wow.
So now I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I'm doing as many days as I want, and I still love being on the road. So I'm not gonna lie. I like being on the road. It's fun, but it does get tiring sometimes. But you know what? You just push through it. And I do have a bit of a virus right now. So if I pick up a Kleenex or something, I've got a box in front of me, you'll understand that I'm not sentimental and crying. I'm just blowing my nose, okay?
It's just that time of year. Everybody's got a little something right around now. So
Well,
yeah.
it is Christmas. We're all in reminiscing of memories
Yeah,
too.
that's
So
right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, Bob, I mean, for those people, I mean, most people listening probably know who you are and know and have probably caught your TV show. I'm 38 years is crazy incredible. So, but just going back, like, was there something that, was there a time where you thought, hey, this fishing thing can turn into something that's more than just kind of a hobby that most people have, right? It's something they enjoy doing, but you did something that was also not like it was pretty rare to be able to kind of have a real big show about fishing at that time, especially in Canada. So, what was there something that triggered that? Is it just opportunity? How did that work?
I'm not sure. The opportunity happened in a very odd way. So in my teens, I worked at a factory, and I mean, I always worked at farms and wherever, all through being a little kid and stuff, growing
Yeah,
up southwestern Ontario. And my dad raised us single parent, so we didn't have a lot of money. So I was the youngest, two sisters in between, my brother Wayne as the oldest, and so we always worked when my dad wasn't working as the head chef at St. Joseph's Hospital in Chatham. Where he worked for the last 20 some odd years of his life before he passed away in his early 60s. He held a lot of other jobs. So he'd take us, um, to pick cherries and strawberries and tomatoes and work in hay and straw and tobacco. And he worked in the bar in Blenheim slinging beer till 1 at night. Then he'd be up at 5 and out the door at 5:30 to head to Chatham to do his full shift at the hospital as head chef. And he worked at the co-op and he worked everywhere in addition to his full-time job. But he also was involved in sports. So he also took the youth, the girls softball team to all Ontario championship, youth bowling, the Blenheim team to a championship, and to the finals and stuff. And so he was a competitive guy. He bowled 5 pin in Toronto before I was born, and was a tournament champion bowler back in those days. But he also introduced us to fishing.
yeah,
And that's what sparked the whole I love fishing because as a little kid from when we were gosh, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I would go to these kids fishing derbies in Erio that he'd take myself, my brother, my two sisters, all the neighborhood kids in a Volkswagen Beetle down to Erio, take us fishing. And that got me hooked in this kind of go, go, go competitive fishing. Keep your bait in the water or your lure in the water. You catch more fish. You used to say when I was 5 or 6, 7 years old, I remember him saying, if you don't have your lure in the water, you're not going to catch any fish. So we were always determined to catch, and have success. And then when I was 21, I think it was in 1979, I had heard I'd been fishing tournaments. My dad ran the first bass tournament ever in Canada.
Really?
When I was 15, I think it was, he was, still chef at the hospital, and that he had worked with a guy named Murray King, who was an orderly at the hospital, who had fished these pro tournaments in the late 60s, 70s, early 70s in the US. And they would, eat lunch together, talk about bass fishing and tournaments. And dad was intrigued. And so he found out how these tournaments operated in the US. So he ended up running one on Rondo Bay on Lake Erie. And that was my first foray into competitive, organized tournament fishing rather than a
Yeah.
kids fishing derby that we used to
Yeah.
do when I was small. And so that spurred into fishing tournaments when I was working in a factory in my late teens. And I got laid off uh, from the factory. And I thought, well, I'll do some promotional work possibly. And I'd heard Mercury was interested in doing some fishing seminars in Toronto.
Yeah.
But they tried to get Al Lindner from Minnesota, who had the In Fisherman magazine, along with his brother Ron, and they couldn't get him because he was booked a year in advance. So my dad took me up there and we met up on Dundas Street at Mercury Marine Canada. Bob Patterson, and Bob said, sure, I'll hire you. $25 a day for 10 days to do the Toronto Boat Show for seminars. And at that time, I didn't realize expenses were you could get a crappy hotel room for like $60 on the
Yeah.
lakeshore there. And that's where I stayed at some seedy little motel for 60. But it was a money losing proposition. Although I had also picked up another company, rod and reel company, that's paying me $25 a day because they were also under the Brunswick Corporation at the time that owned Mercury, and they heard what I was going to do, and they said, we need somebody to man our booth. So I
Right.
manned their 10 by 10 booth on one side of the boat show by myself. And when I had to do one of 5 seminars every day, I had asked this guy named Peter Stickley, who was beside me at Cytex Electronics. I said, Peter, can you make sure nobody steals anything so I
Yeah.
don't get in trouble? And I'm going over for another half hour to do a seminar. I should be back in 40 minutes. So I'd do this, 5 times a day, and he'd keep an eye
Wow.
on the rods and reels and stuff. And that was my foray into fishing. That break doing promotional work got me into the fishing business. And from that show, I picked up a few other companies that saw what I was doing, the seminars, which had never been done in Canada,
Yeah.
and they liked what I was doing, and life jacket company and a brewery and stuff. And they said, gee, we'd like you to promote fishing for us too, because it's a favorite pastime of Canadians. And why not have you on board to promote our brand in the fishing world? So I starved to death doing that for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then by chance at a family picnic, I met a guy who knew a little bit about TV production from commercial work, doing like GM dealers and a jewelry store and stuff. He had a one-man agency business out of Guelph, Bob McGuigan. And we met, we talked. I met him the next week. We talked till 5 in the morning. I slept on his couch for an hour and got up and headed to a tournament I was heading to go pre-fish on the Friday morning. And that's when we came up with the idea of a TV show. I said to him, I think I need to do something else. I'm young, hungry, not really worried about financial things
Yeah.
because it didn't matter. If you don't have any, it's kind of funny when you don't have any money, the
There's no
smaller things
risk,
in
right?
life
Yeah.
are so much more important. You don't think about it too much. You just
Yep.
roll with the punches. But because I worked as a young teenager and all through high school and that, I always had a job. Even in public school, I worked. I always bought rods, reels, my first gun I remember buying when I was like 15 at the sports shop and stuff, my shotgun to hunt. And so it was just normal for me to work and make enough money to survive on. So it was never that was the issue, but I wasn't really making enough to really live on. I mean, I'd sleep in the back of my car at tournaments if I didn't have enough money. And then the next turn, if I won money, then I'd get a hotel or motel for the next tournament, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so we went out, shot the TV show, shot a pilot. Long story short, pitched at 12 stations, Ontario. 13 took it because one program director happened to be at the Ottawa station from Pembroke. He said, I like it too. I'll take it for my station. So
Yeah.
13 stations. Then next year went nationally, and next few years went into some pretty cool markets like the US, China, France. We had some various countries too, throughout the years, putting different languages in there. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it was 38 years of a lot of fun. And then in 2021, we wound it down, my own
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
People ask why. Been there, done that. Time to move on and fish more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like your show, I mean, people actually now of multiple generations kind of grew up seeing that show. What was that like? I guess understanding, especially in in Canada where it was kind of everywhere. What's that like knowing how many people you probably inspired into a lifestyle that that you enjoyed so much? Because I'm sure many people that was their either their first or where they became much more passionate about fishing was seeing what you were doing and hearing you.
Well, it's funny because there's so many ways to take that question and turn it into an answer that is short. Um,
Yeah.
because the only reason I did the show was so it was an ends to a means to make more, hopefully make more income. Although the TV show didn't make any money for 10 years. I'm going to tell that
Yeah.
right now to the
Yeah.
the viewers or listeners that it didn't make any money for 10 years. We just sludged through. I did get a small salary, for the first 10 years, but we
Yeah.
we struggled, and then we started figuring out, getting some big blue chip companies like Chevy and Carlene O'Keefe OV and Off Mosquito Repellent and Quaker State and all kinds of cool companies over the
Yeah.
years. Tim Hortons, we had some wonderful sponsors as the years went on. But the first 10 years, it was just, we really didn't know who to emulate or copy from a
Mm.
business standpoint. So we kind of had to, sort of trod through there with blindfolders on. But eventually we figured it out. And, at the heyday, we had about 18 full-time staff. We did a
Mm.
magazine, a radio
Yeah.
show. Both of those were like 32 years or something like that each.
Yeah.
That were nationally, and the radio show I think was on like, I don't know, 55 or 65 stations, and the magazine was out there across the country and stuff. And so we kind of had that multimedia mix. We went TV, radio, magazine, all the traditional old school media type things that were back then the only thing media
Yeah.
was before internet and that. I think a lot of people were forced to watch the show in the early years, and I'll tell you why. Is there weren't a lot of TV stations in the
Right.
early 80s. When we
Right.
started back in 83, Toronto might have had between the other multicultural stations, everything maybe 8 or 9 stations in total.
Yeah.
And we'd get in through CKVR Barrie, checks out of Peterborough,
Yep.
CKCO out of Kitchener, CHCH Hamilton. They would get into the GTA.
Yep.
So on a Saturday or Sunday morning, a lot of people were exposed to seeing this darn fishing show on TV. And soon after, a number of other Canadian fishing shows started to air TV shows because these guys knew who I was and saw what I was doing and thought it looked like a cool idea and that. So we kind of had that space for a little while all to ourselves for a
Yeah.
while. Then the other shows started popping up, but in my wildest dreams, I didn't know the notoriety would start.
Hmm.
I I didn't do it for notoriety. I did it
Yeah.
because I thought I could make a couple of dollars eventually to offset my tournament addiction and expenses
Yeah.
because I love competitive bass fishing. Still do to this day. I mean, I fish as many as I can squeeze in every year all over the place, and I'm probably one of the older guys doing it. There's not many guys at my age doing it. Most of the guys I'm competing against, guys and girls, are in their 20s and 30s, and
Hmm.
and it's a young person sport, but I like it, keeps me young. I love doing it just to keep me out there. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
5 foot waves and 30-mile-an-hour winds. I'm still out there pounding away like they are.
Actually, that's one thing, Bob. Back then, it was a very different thing in how you fished at that time. And we were talking even before we came on air about how technology has changed things so much. Um, I'm wondering what that's like for somebody who's been in fishing for all of that time period, where there was probably a lot more intuition at one point. There was probably a lot more, like there just wasn't the whole kind of what sonar is like now, and all of the technology pieces that I'm sure a fisherman who's kind of early 20s, that's all they're used to, is being able to have every kind of different aid and support as you possibly can. What's that like to be in that world now after having evolved all through that world, I
Okay,
guess?
here's the political answer.
Okay.
Okay, for a guy that's in the fishing business.
Yeah.
I do it all. At first, okay, so I've always used sonar units that are flashers back in the 80s. That's all we had were flashers. So you'd see these lines, it may be the fish, but you could see the bottom was 22 feet or
Yeah.
15 feet or whatever. And then we evolved into graphs, paper graphs, and then LCD graphs, and then graphs with mapping and GPS. And then nowadays it's forward-facing sonar,
Hmm.
which is the big thing. There's three big manufacturers of forward-facing sonar. I use a company, Lowrance, and there's three that make it. They all have different attributes that make fishing a little easier to find them. You still have to catch the darn things, but it
Hmm.
shows you the fish in front of you.
Yeah.
So at first, when it came out, I was like, oh, I'm an intuitive type angler. I like to go out there and cast and hope that I'm going to catch them with this technique or this technique. And fish just on my knowledge I've learned over the years and hope that there's some fish on that weed line or on this rock hump or whatever.
Yeah.
But as forward facing became evolved and got better and better, for the first few years I was kind of like, oh, I can't do it. I don't want to look at a screen all day.
Yeah.
But as I started getting my rear end kicked at a lot of these bass tournaments by young folks who grew up with computers and are
Hmm.
very good at computer games and computer fishing, they're looking at their screen, seeing the fish. At 55 feet away at 2 o'clock, there's a school of three fish, and they look like a fairly good size. And they throw a cast, and they're within 3 feet of the fish or 5 feet from the fish on a cast. And as I got to see how beneficial that was in my tournament world, I said I better get good, or at least try to get better with it. I mean, I've got glasses. That was a month ago. I finally went to the optometrist after being in years of denial. I got glasses, progressive
Yeah.
for distance and closeness. I've got Costa sunglasses with prescription lenses on them. Couple pair different style frames, and I want to be good with that style fishing as well as intuitive old school techniques as well. So I do it all. I'm not as good as the young guys are at scoping, as they call it, with forward facing, but I understand it enough that I know how effective it is, and I've caught a lot of fish using it. But there's
Yeah.
no guarantees in fishing, Jamie. That the thing about anybody that's a naysayer on using techniques or electronics to catch fish, um, possibly hasn't had success with it. And I think until you have success with something, it's easy to say, "Oh, that's cheating," or "That's this or that." Um, I've competed in tournaments now for 50 some odd years. I think
Yeah.
52 years I've fished tournaments. I think the first bass tournaments I won a few in the 70s and 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010. So I think it's like 5 decades. I think I've won tournaments in, or whatever that adds up to. It it's still you against the fish. And it's not a guarantee that you've got the latest, greatest equipment, you're going to catch them.
Mhm.
Because even with forward facing sonar now, you're seeing fish out there. You throw a lure to them, you see these little blobs raise up to come to your lure, and then they just swim away.
Yeah.
And, so now you're seeing the reaction of the fish, but you're not catching a lot of these fish. You catch some, but you don't catch all of them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So the thing is it's another tool to help you catch fish. You can accept it, or you can just go fishing the old way and just, hoping and catching, casting here and there
Yeah.
and hoping you get a bite. And I like fishing both. I'm an old school angler, so it's funny for me to talk positively about electronic fishing because I also like the old school fishing, where I'm throwing
Yeah.
a topwater lure out there and popping it, and all of a sudden you see this giant explosion and a bass eats it. I mean, that's heart pounding fishing, but it is there, and it's you either take it or leave it. I mean, I got friends that won't use an iPad or won't use an iPhone or a computer or a laptop that are, not that much older than I am. And
Yeah.
they're in denial. I'm not going to learn that stuff. And then I've got other friends that are like, in their 80s and that can use an iPhone or a smartphone and send you a text or a photo,
Yeah.
and they've accepted it. And that's kind of the same with all this electronics. It's you either accept it or you don't. It's your choice. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get into too many of these big wars on the internet, keyboard warriors on things.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
wants to have a little hate on this. Not everybody, but a few people want to have a little hate on this and that. Hey, go for it. Do whatever makes you happy, but I won't participate in it. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a
How
good thing.
can
Well,
I?
one of the things, Bob, is that you've fished with many like incredible people because of and your show. You used to obviously have people on your show, things like that. Is there somebody that stands out like that for you? Was wow, that was the coolest experience for me, considering you've fished with a lot of really interesting folks. So,
The irony is, I'm going to probably say it would be some of the tournament pros,
mhm.
fishing guides, and just super keeners of fishing that have probably put the biggest impression on me,
Yeah,
because and I said this in my seminars in the 80s, and I still say it now if I'm doing a talk on fishing, is you're never done learning. And so
yeah,
for me, the biggest impression I get when I'm with people out in a boat is when I learn something and the light goes off and I go, wow, this is like incredible. I can't believe I didn't know this 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And I just add that to my arsenal of fishing next time I'm out fishing that species during those conditions if I've learned something. Um, I have had a chance to fish with, politicians and
mm,
celebrities. And I mean, Gary Berghoff, who used to play Radar on MASH, we spent, quite a bit of time fishing in the 80s and 90s and that together. And he was passionate about fishing, wonderful human being, a nice guy. So that I have like a fond memory of just the time I spent with him. He
yeah,
wasn't a real technical angler, but he was
yeah,
passionate. Bobby Orr, everybody knows who Bobby Orr is. Good hand-eye coordination, and he's just incredible, angler just because of his hand-eye and how he can set the hook, fight fish, and make presentations and that. Although, he's not a tournament angler or a fishing guide, but he's just a good angler. So Bobby was good. Fished with a lot of different athletes. I remember some of the Blue Jays after they won the World Series years ago. Fished with Ricky Henderson, Dave Stewart, Pat Henkin, a lot of those guys. And it's funny because a lot of those athletes would have all levels of fishing expertise, but some not so good, others
mhm,
better. Fergie Jenkins, I mean, we grew up in the same hometown area of Chatham, Kent, down in Blenheim, Chatham area.
yeah.
And so if you hear a little roughing in the background, that's my daughter and son-in-law's Shiba Inu, Japanese hunting dog that is out
Oh
barking
yeah.
right now outside at a I don't know if there's a delivery here, but she'll let the delivery driver know that we are fully guarded. It's a
Yeah.
30-pound little white dog that you see it on the Bitcoin. That's the
Yeah.
dog, the little white dog. Looks like a white fox. Anyway, we're dog city. But yeah, so it's interesting. The big thing I think I learned over the years of fishing with hundreds, well, probably thousands of people. If I look at my
Yeah.
contact list on my phone, just thousands of people, um, is the memories of spending hours and days and years on the water. You
Yeah.
get to you get to learn a lot about people when you're with them.
Yeah.
And some get pretty tense out there when the camera would roll if we were shooting a show, for
Yeah.
instance. and they'd hold their rod too tight. And they wouldn't catch as many fish as the person that was footloose and fancy free, having a good time and joking and chatting, and they'd catch a fish. And that whereas somebody that might be in the boat that's holding their rod tight and they're concentrating and they're answering my questions with a one-word answer is like, oh
Yeah.
my, this is gonna be a tough show to shoot because they
Yeah.
don't talk when they fish because they're too tense when the camera's rolling, right? And so, you learn about people in the boat, whether the camera was with us or we were just fun fishing.
Yeah.
You'd learn a lot about them. And that probably is the coolest thing I'd say of my, long tenure in fishing is the memories that were made
Yeah.
as well. Gosh, I mean, you think about life in general, memories are everything, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's with your
Yeah.
family, your friends, your experiences, whatever you do, you go to that memory bank and you got good ones and you got a few bad and ugly ones, but for the most part, it's the good ones you remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes life click, and
Yeah.
I sure
Well,
sure fish with some strange people too, but
I'm
they're
sure. Well, and
yeah.
one of your skills is being able to, I would assume, is being able to help people be comfortable because you're good at kind of that end of it. And like, is that something you do it just intuitively, or is it
Well,
something
I
you have
I
to kind
think
of,
I like to keep things light and fun because that's
yeah,
who I am. What you see is what you get with Bob here. So
yeah,
I don't really have when I go to corporate meetings, I have a hard time being real serious the whole meeting.
yeah,
And that's why when my brother and I did the business for many years, Wayne's the oldest of the four of us, in the family. So he's,
yeah,
more type A, more
yeah,
business, and I'd be more have fun and have a few jokes here and there. So it was always a sort of a yin and yang type situation when we were, partners in the business. But he brought the seriousness, and I would have more fun. But I, it's hard with some people that are very type A.
yeah,
Uh, when you're filming a show to get them to just hello, have a little fun, be light, it's
yeah,
hard because that's not even in their makeup when they're
right,
not on camera, right? So
right,
it
yeah,
is what it is. But I like reading people. I think Jamie, after a while, it's more fun when I'm working at an appearance or something, for Tire Discounter or Columbia or Mercury or Bass Pro Shops, whatever. One of the, I'm still working, by the way. A lot
yeah,
of people
yeah,
say, "Oh, you retired from the TV show," but I'm still working for about 8 companies just to set the
yeah,
record straight. And I'm going to do that till I die or can't move. Okay. So there's no retirement word in
yep,
the thing. Might retire from a sector like the TV, like I did or whatever, but not retire from the fishing world. Um, but yeah, I think reading people is fun. When I'm sitting there signing autographs and taking pictures of people, it's funny because you meet so many walks of life in a given
yeah,
outing, wherever I'm at. And that's kind of normal with every day I'm out and about. I seem to talk fishing with somebody in a grocery store, gas station, whatever. It's like you meet all kinds,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's interesting. But the cool thing about what I've done over my career is fishing attracts the like-mindedness of people, even though their personalities might be all over the map.
yeah,
If they like fishing, it's a common thread, and that's
mm,
why, you know, for every, I mean, I've probably met 5 people in my life that I didn't care for, which
yeah,
is not a
yeah,
lot of people.
yeah,
Consider I meet thousands every year at
yeah,
promotions and stuff, right? I mean, maybe 5 of my life that I just didn't, I could see through into their soul and go, man, I don't know if I'd want to hang with that person, for better
yeah,
or worse. I don't know. I mean, just what I'm
yeah,
saying. But
yeah, yeah.
and I don't like to judge people, but that sure did sound like I was judging people when I said that just now. But
No,
you know what
no.
I'm
I mean,
saying.
but it's right. I mean, fishing is one of those things that is a great connector of people at a time when there's not enough of that, I think, is that, how do you find something that it doesn't matter your kind of political leanings and all that kind of stuff and whatever it is that, it's something that people can enjoy and feel commonality, I guess, in, right?
I'm thinking now why I brought up that negative side, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't be like that. But we're close to Christmas. I got to be nice here. But now that I'm not doing TV show, I tend to be a little bit more unfiltered than I
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
be. Is I think back some of those would have been ones that were maybe drunk
Hmm.
and were prodding me
Yeah,
to try to get me, and I wouldn't bite.
Yeah.
And that would be somebody that I wouldn't care for, and
Yeah.
maybe when they're sober, they'd be nicer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the few that I'm thinking of
Yeah.
in that handful. Now that I think of probably three of them were under the influence, at a
Yeah.
function or something. But that's not bad considering,
Yeah.
um, like I
Well,
remember one year I
thousands of
really
people you've dealt with, right? Thousands and thousands.
well, I'll give you an example of how crazy my life has been, and it still is crazy, but not near as bad. I mean, I can control my travel and destiny now more than I seem like when we had the bigger staff, I had to keep working hard to keep everybody paid. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was on salary, right? So we had to keep everybody fed. But nowadays it's I lean on my family to help me a lot.
Yeah.
But it seemed like, over the years, um, one time it was this time of year, it was December. I was dragging my heels, and here I am, just getting over this flu or whatever right now, but I'm dragging my heels now. But I mean, I was really dragging my heels December. So I looked at my day timer, which was all on, in a book and on paper, and I looked at my schedule and I said, why am I so tired? And I looked at January, February, March, which are usually the slowest months of my year.
Mhm.
And out of those 90 days, I was on the road 80 of those days
Oh,
in
wow.
Chicago, Detroit, Winnipeg, Timmins, Brandon, Dauphin, Kingston, Belleville, doing seminars and
Hmm.
at one-off evening seminars, for like anywhere from 150 to 1,000 people to sport shows, boat shows.
Hmm.
80 of those 90 days, I was physically in front of a lot of people talking.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I'd hang out till the last person left that night and talk fishing, and then we'd pack down the road show and move on.
Yeah.
Um, then I got real busy after those 90 days, starting to film the show, do my
Yeah.
tournaments,
Yeah.
April, May, June, July, August, September, October, just on the water a lot, traveling a lot, all over the world actually. And then so that's why I was tired. That year I was on the road 320 days exactly.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and so I figured out that's why I was feeling a little burnout in December. But you
Yeah.
know what? I mean, it's whatever you make of it. Life is, my wife often says, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. And a lot of it is, it's your own choosing. And
Hmm.
in my case, I chose to go hard and do I have any regrets? Not really. I mean, I do think I missed a little bit of the upbringing of the kids, but when my son and daughter were really small, they traveled with me. My wife
Yeah.
brought them. Their
Yeah.
mom, my wife brought them to all the tournaments, and even sometimes my son, when he'd be like 4 years old, be wearing a tuxedo, and he'd come to a function with us, and no kids were allowed, but we didn't care. We brought him anyway, and
That's right.
and nobody complained, and he would hang out with the adults and that, and so we always exposed them to a lot of travel and functions. But when they got in school, I mean, I'd see them. I'd try to be home one day a week was my deal all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
no matter where I was, unless it was Australia or after the wall went down in Russia. We were actually there filming a show many, many years ago, which is weird to even mention the word
Wow.
Russia in this day and age with
Yeah.
what's going on in the world. But if I was on those trips, they were longer, like they might have been 10 or 12 days. And I used
Yeah.
to hate those longer trips. I like to keep them under a week if I could.
Yeah.
Brazil usually was a week if we're in the Amazon or something like that, or
Yeah.
Spain was a week fishing a bass there. But we did many, many trips over the years, but I'd try to keep them short if I could, so I could get home, see the little ones, once they got a little older and that. But
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I had any change, I wish I could have slowed that down a bit. But you got to do what you got to do when you're doing a
Yeah.
TV show, radio show, and a magazine. You
Yeah.
got to get content, and
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
all this whole digital platform now, like here we're doing a podcast.
Right.
These YouTubers that are constantly putting out material, I commend them on what they do, but I
Yeah.
don't envy them. And I
Hmm.
don't want to be them where I'm putting out, 3 videos a week or something. It's a lot of work,
It is. It
especially
is.
if they're adventurous or they're traveling a lot with their videos. They're constantly got a camera, in front of them or behind them showing what's
Yep.
going on. And having been there, done that with the TV show, it is, it is a lot of things to do, and you eat, breathe, and drink it, and
Yep.
hey, if that's what floats your boat, do it, But after
Yeah.
doing it for so many years, I certainly don't envy what they do.
Yeah,
So,
it can burn you out. Like a lot of people don't realize that about how much work it is to create those things and to, do everything you have to do to be able to put them together. It's
well, the
very similar,
interesting
right?
thing will be, I think, will be on a lot of the YouTubers that will be how long their tenure will be.
Hmm.
Will it be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Yeah.
I haven't done the TV show for 38 years. I guess I mean, it was different, but it was kind of similar. We had put a
Yeah.
longer,
But
well,
not
I
many
guess,
people do it for 38 years. Like that's actually a pretty huge
well,
thing. When you say that,
I,
you realize like, wow, that's actually a huge accomplishment to be able to do that.
Well, I won't be able to see if they last that long. I don't think I'll live that long, but it'll be interesting to see how the life expectancy of what they
Mm.
do, because a lot of them are youth, some
Yeah.
aren't.
Yeah.
And it's all walks of life. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like you doing this podcast, you
Yeah.
started this in the latter years, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
started, 20 years or 10 years ago whenever the internet came out.
Yeah.
Um, but this is, once again, they're all forms, right? You're sitting there in the
Yeah.
comfort of your own home, I
Yeah.
presume, and
Yep.
same
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine, doing like a extreme one where you're, mountain climbing
Yeah.
dirt biking or fishing around the world. How
Yeah.
many years you'd do it? But I did 38 years of TV, so I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well,
it's
I guess if you
possible.
can, if you're passionate enough about it, I guess you can do
Well,
that, right?
in the
So,
success of monetizing it now, the more views you get in this new digital age is just a different world. Although it's very similar to what I grew up in, it was all about viewers for us, right? If we
yeah.
got
Yeah.
enough viewers, we could get the advertising dollars to survive. If we didn't have enough viewers, well, then
Yeah.
it was going to be lean and mean. So it's the same with, I think, digital content. It's all about views and
Yeah.
likes and
Yeah.
listeners and everything, right?
Yeah. 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 It just shifts what it is, I guess. So,
Yeah.
okay, a couple quick questions, Bob, really quick ones. If you were, are you a early morning fishing person or are you a kind of a sunset kind of fishing person? If you could choose one of the two, because I'm sure you do both of them, which one is your favorite out of the
My
two?
running joke is I'm the crack of noon fishing team, but that's a running joke.
Yep.
There are times where I'm working in a hotel or something where I'm at a tournament and I might be practicing or pre-fishing for 3 days. But one morning I'm doing a lot of work. And so I
Yep.
don't get out there till 9 in the morning or something because I'm on my computer answering
Yeah.
emails and working on something. And and then I get out, untarp the boat, get charger off and blaze down to the boat ramp. But it might be 10 o'clock, I'm launching the boat. There are other times where I love getting out there early in the morning and fishing. To me, a perfect day would be
Yeah.
at my age, be out there at daybreak, fish for about 5 or 6 hours, come in for a big, really good lunch,
Yeah.
have a siesta for an hour, and then fish till dark. And that would be the ultimate day for me. So you would still get in, let's call it 6, 5, 11, 12, 13, at least 13 hours of fishing, but you get a break in between for a nice lunch and a
Yeah.
siesta. That would be the ultimate for me.
What's
Um,
your lunch? Like when you come in, like if you were, say, somewhere, you're on a beautiful lake somewhere and you've got that kind of thing, what is a big, nice, good lunch for you?
uh, in the boat, I usually have 2 or 3 types of cold cuts,
Hmm.
really nice Italian buns, um, cheese, lettuce, like some watermelon sliced up in a container on ice, like my Diet Coke, a little bit of chocolate in there in the ice chest. There'll be some chips in the boat, some cookies. Yeah, I don't
You're all
starve
set.
in the boat, but
No, it sounds
a lot of times I'm out there though. There are times I'm out there for 12, 13, 14 hours in a
yeah.
day and I don't come in when I'm practicing for a tournament. And so I've
Yeah.
got enough food there that if I in I love fishing till dark. So,
Yeah,
a few weeks ago, I was on Lake Erie at the end of November, 2 days in a row, and that's about an hour and a half drive for me, from outside of Milton, where I live here in the country.
yeah,
I fished right through into the dark those 2 nights
yeah,
in late November, and I loved it. I love getting off the water, the last boat in at the ramp, and
yeah.
just get loaded up. Everybody else already loaded on the road, and a lot of people call me as I'm still on the water, say, "Hey, how'd you do today?" I said, "You're bugging me, man. I'm still on the water. I'll call you when I'm loaded up and driving home. I'm still catching them." But it's so funny how I like to stretch my days because of those occasional late starts that I get.
Yeah,
Occasionally, I always stretch them till the
yeah,
end. It
yeah,
used to drive all the crew crazy when we'd be filming
yeah.
shows
I'm
because we'd
sure.
be done filming the
Oh, come
show,
on, Bob.
but but I'd want to keep fishing,
Yeah,
you know. And we didn't need the fish. We already had the show shot, but no,
yeah,
no, I want to catch a bigger one, or I just want to catch more or whatever. And I'd, tell the crews, put the camera down and all the camera equipment and stuff. Just grab a rod, let's fish. And
yeah.
some of them would and love it. And then most of them would like, we really should get back because we've got batteries to charge. We're heading out tomorrow morning again, or we're on the road tomorrow morning, or whatever. And we really like to get back. And so I'd have to be told sometimes. I got scolded more than once over the
It
years about
sounds like it.
yeah.
So Bob, for people who've been listening, I mean, lots of people I'm sure are already following you and things like that. What are some of the best ways to kind of see what you're doing? And you've got lots of kind of stuff. I can see you've got some of your Columbia stuff on and everything right now. I know you're doing lots of things for them and stuff. Is there what are some of the best ways to follow what you're doing?
Well, I've got to post more of what I am doing on social media.
Yeah,
And that's something I've got to pick it up a little bit on for sure, Jamie, because I
yeah,
know that's keeping things relevant. I'm still working out there. Well, I'm at the tournaments fishing, so a lot of
hmm,
people will come to the tournaments to see me.
yeah, yeah,
Various tournaments. And then I do a lot of appearances. So for Tire Discounter Group, which is a
hmm,
big distributor here in Ontario, and they've got several thousand accounts that they sell tires to. I do some appearances for them, and we
yeah,
did one in Port Colborne last year, a free barbecue for the customers and guests, and we did another one at Curve Lake, up near Peterborough, and those type of things. I'm at a Santa Claus parade. I don't know if it's this coming weekend or next weekend. I have to look at the schedule. But before Christmas, I'm doing
yeah.
Santa Claus parade for Bass Pro Shops down in Niagara on the lake, I
Oh,
think,
yeah,
or somewhere in that area. And yeah, so some of the shows I'll be at, the fishing or boat shows and things. So there's always
yeah,
always something I'm doing that is like a meet and greet. Doing a lot more of those than I did sort of during some of that busy time of my career where I was too busy trying to get the content done, but
yeah,
I've got
yeah,
more time now to do those. And that's what a lot of my contracts are is going to sales meetings and some of the corporate golf tournaments and stuff. It's just
yeah.
this chapter is amazing. I'm
Yeah,
going to
all the
tell you
fun
right now.
stuff now, right? So,
It's all fun. It's some of it is work, but it's still fun work. And
yeah,
and I don't feel like, oh, I have to go. Now I'm excited when I'm going.
yeah,
But when I was traveling those, multiple days a year, just dragging my heels, there were times where I go, oh boy, I got to go
yeah,
work that promotion. Now I'm excited to go work them for the, there are times when I'm tired from a tournament and then I'm going to work a promotion and I go, okay, Bob, turn it up a notch. Have a few more coffees and get in the
yeah,
mood here. But that's just human nature, right?
for
Uh,
sure,
but
for sure.
but it's a dirty job, and I'm glad I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's impressive you've been doing it for as long as you have and made such an impact on so many people. So, and I'm sure lots of people are going to be listening. What we'll do it too, Bob, is I'll tag your kind of Instagram profile and stuff
Okay,
in the
great.
show promo. So we've got that, and we'll put those in there. But again, I know you've even though you say you're kind of winding it down a little bit, you're super busy, so I really appreciate you taking the time with us today. It's been awesome hearing all the stories too, so
Hey, my pleasure, Jamie. Anytime. I think it's cool to do what you're doing.
yeah,
Um,
thanks.
People keep saying, Bob, you can do a podcast. I said, I'm not really thinking about it too much. It'll cut into my fishing time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
to do it on a regular basis. But I enjoy doing podcasts with guys like yourself. And I checked out you. I creeped you on social media, and I see that you're an outdoorsy guy. Do a lot of skiing. It looks like, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Lots of different things.
yeah.
So
I see
yeah.
outdoor shots, and I go,
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
this guy's keeping busy. I like that. You
Try
gotta
to.
keep
Try to.
busy and lots of family time and
Yep.
all that stuff that we all love to do. I mean, as we go around this life, and my dad used to say when he was alive, give it with all the gusto,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that's how I've always lived life is go hard, have fun.
That's right. It's the best way to do it. Well, again, thanks for taking the time. And everybody else, if you haven't hit subscribe on the podcast, do that now. And we have great people every week, just like Bob. And we'll talk again soon on boats, beers, and backroads.